Austin Watson is an American professional wrestler who is currently signed to WWE under the ring name Xavier Woods. He is part of the New Day, along with Big E and Kofi Kingston, the current WWE Tag Team Champions in their second reign. Watson previously worked for TNA as Consequences Creed, where he was a one-time World Tag Team Champion with Jay Lethal as Lethal Consequences. Watson has also worked for NWA Anarchy and other independent promotions under the ring name Austin Creed. Early life: Watson was born in Columbus, Georgia in 1986 and graduated from Sprayberry High School in 2004. That same year, he began studying psychology and philosophy at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. Professional wrestling career Early years and NWA Anarchy . While attending Furman University, Watson began training for a career in professional wrestling and, in 2005, began wrestling part-time with Rob Adonis' Ultimate Christian Wrestling promotion. While in the Greenville, South Carolina-based World Wrestling Council, he developed his Austin Creed gimmick, which is based heavily on the character Apollo Creed from the Rocky series. During his time in NWA Anarchy, Creed was part of a tag team called Awesome Attraction with Hayden Young. The pair had one of the longest title reigns in the promotion's history after defeating Justice Served in Cornelia, Georgia on April 7, 2007. In 2006, Creed won NWA's Most Popular Wrestler, voted for by the NWA fans. On July 12, 2007, Creed defeated Murder One to become the first DSW heavyweight champion following the promotion's split from World Wrestling Entertainment. Total Nonstop Action Wrestling X Division. Creed appeared at Total Nonstop Action Wrestling's Bound for Glory pay-per-view event, teaming with Ron Killings as the replacement for Adam Pac-Man Jones. Creed wrestled under the name Rashid Lucius Consequences Creed. His union with Ron Killings was dubbed Truth and Consequences, which was a combination of Killings' nickname The Truth, and Creed's nickname Consequences, as well as a play on words on the game show of the same name. On October 21, 2007, it was reported that Creed had signed a contract with TNA. The signing was reported when Creed appeared on the radio show Trash Talking Radio on October 23 with Tommy Cairo and Sabian. His signing was also confirmed later at a NWA Anarchy show where Creed was presented with a contract by TNA booking director Bill Barons. Following Bound for Glory, Creed was not seen on TNA television for months after Killings asked for and was later granted his release from the company. On February 10, 2008, Creed wrestled in a dark match before Against All Odds. He teamed with Sanjay Dutt, defeating the Rock and Rave Infection. On the March 13 episode of Impact, a promo video with the words "Prepare to Face the Consequences" showed Creed training and announced that he would make his return at the Lockdown pay-per-view on April 13. The following week, the return date was changed to April 10. On the April 10 episode of Impact, Creed made his in-ring return and defeated Jimmy Rave of the Rock and Rave Infection, thus qualifying for the XSCAPE match at Lockdown. During the match, Creed eliminated Shark Boy, but was later eliminated by Curry Man. Creed later wrestled in the first ever Terradome match at Sacrifice, which was won by Kaz. At Hard Justice, Creed faced Petty Williams for the X Division Championship, but lost after interference from Sheikh Abdul Bashir. On the September 4, 2008 episode of Impact, he won a number 1 contenders match against Bashir for the right to face Williams again at No Surrender for the X Division title. However, the match was later changed to a triple threat after Bashir repeatedly attacked Creed and ultimately, Bashir won the match in the X Division title. Lethal Consequences. On the October 30, 2008 episode of Impact, Creed, along with Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Jay Lethal, Petty Williams, Eric Young, ODB and the Motor City Machine Guns formed a faction of younger wrestlers, known as the Front Line, to oppose the Main Event Mafia. On January 8, 2009, fellow Frontline member Lethal chose Creed to cash in his Feast or Fire briefcase with, and the pair won the World Tag Team Championship from the Champions Beer Money, Incorporated. Creed and Lethal went on to be named Lethal Consequences. a combination of their respective names. Beer Money, Incorporated regained their titles in a three-way match just 3 days later at Genesis. For the next few months, Creed and Lethal teamed with the Motor City Machine Guns to try and unmask Suicide. On the October 1, 2009 episode of Impact, Creed and Lethal were part of a 5-man ladder match for a future X Division title match. During the match, Amazing Red, who ended up winning the match, performed a Hurricane Runner driver, which caused Creed to projectile vomit after his head hit the mat. Watson was released from TNA on March 29, 2010. New Japan Pro Wrestling On April 4, New Japan Pro Wrestling announced Watson, under his Consequences Creed ring name, as a participant in the first Super J Tag Tournament. On May 8, Creed and his partner Kota Ibushi were eliminated from the tournament in the first round by the team of Jito and Kushida. Creed returned to New Japan on June 28, 2010, teaming up with IWGP Heavyweight Champion Togi Makabe and Tomoki Honma in the J-Sports Crown Openweight 6-man tag tournament. After defeating Taman Honda, Kentaro Shiga and Makoto Hashi in the opening round, the trio was eliminated from the tournament in the second round by Shinsuke Nakamura, Masato Tanaka and Tomohiro Ishii. On July 10, Creed defeated Brian Milonas, Eugene and Tommaso Ciampa to win East Coast Wrestling Association's 2010 Super 8 tournament. World Wrestling Entertainment Florida Championship Wrestling. On July 22, 2010, it was announced that Watson had signed a developmental contract with World Wrestling Entertainment. Watson, using his real name, made his debut for WWE's developmental territory Florida Championship Wrestling on July 29 in a tag team match, where he and Percy Watson were defeated by Brodus Clay and Donnie Marlowe. Following his debut, he was then added to FCW's official website under the name Xavier Woods. In October, Woods began to team up with Wes Briscoe and they took part in a tag team turmoil match on October 14, where they defeated 3 other teams. On November 4, Woods and Briscoe defeated Johnny Curtis and Derek Bateman to become the Florida Tag Team Champions. On December 1, Woods and Briscoe vacated the Tag Team Championship after Briscoe was sidelined with an injury. With Briscoe sidelined with an injury, Woods teamed up with Marcus Owens to take on Damian Sandow and Titus O'Neil for the vacant Florida Tag Team Championship, but were unsuccessful. Following this, Woods began performing as a singles competitor throughout 2011 and 2012, though without much success. NXT. After WWE rebranded its developmental territory, FCW, into NXT, Woods made his televised debut on the October 31, 2012 episode of NXT with a loss to Leo Kruger. While picking up wins on NXT over the likes of El Local and Jake Carter, Woods began using the gimmick of a fanboy of 1990s popular culture that saw him implement his legitimate fandom of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Dragon Ball Z, and other 90s pop culture into his matches and attire. He stopped using this gimmick once he was called up to WWE's main roster. On the November 18, 2013 episode of Raw, Woods made his main roster debut as he teamed with fellow TNA alumnus and former tag team partner R-Truth to defeat 3 Megabytes after Woods pinned McIntyre. The following week on Raw, Woods defeated Heath Slater in his singles debut match while being accompanied by R-Truth and the Funkadactyls. On the November 29 episode of SmackDown, Woods began a feud with Brodus Clay after Clay took offense to Woods using his entrance music and the Funkadactyls as his valets earlier in the week on Raw. Later that night, Woods suffered his first loss when he and R-Truth lost to Tons of Funk after Clay pinned Woods. On the December 2 episode of Raw, Woods and R-Truth defeated Tons of Funk in a rematch after Woods pinned Clay. On the December 9 episode of Raw, Woods faced Clay in a losing effort. Then on the December 11 episode of Main Event, Woods and R-Truth defeated Tons of Funk and ended their feud. On the January 8, 2014 episode of Main Event, Woods and R-Truth faced the Real Americans in a losing effort. At WrestleMania XXX, Woods competed in the Andra Copyright the Giant Memorial Battle Royal that was won by Cesaro. Woods and R-Truth then competed sporadically in the first quarter of 2014. They started a feud with the Bulgarian newcomer Rusev and were defeated by him in singles and handicap encounters. After a loss in another 2-on-1 handicap match to Rusev at Extreme Rules, Woods and Truth quietly separated as both would become singles competitors. On the May 5 episode of Raw, Woods competed in a 20-man United States Championship Battle Royal which was won by Sheamus. On the June 16 episode of Raw, Woods competed in a WWE World Heavyweight Championship ladder match qualifying Battle Royal which was won by Roman Reigns. At Battleground, Woods competed in a 19-man Battle Royal for the vacant Intercontinental Championship which was won by The Miz. The New Day. On the July 21, 2014 episode of Raw, after Big E and Kofi Kingston suffered another loss as a team in a recent string of defeats, Woods came down to address them. He went on to state that they could not get ahead by kissing babies and shaking hands, and that now is their time, and offered to form a stable. The duo accepted Woods' offer, and on the next day's main event, Woods managed Big E and Kingston to a decisive victory over Heath Slater and Titus O'Neil. On the July 29 episode of Main Event, Woods filled a commentary role while he and his group observed a match wrestled by the WWE Tag Team Champions, the Usos. Woods also joined the broadcast team alongside Rich Brennan on August 28, 2015 episode of WWE Superstars. New Day then temporarily separated as on the August 8 episode of SmackDown, both Big E and Kingston reverted to wrestling singles matches with no sign or mention of the other two members of the group. Despite being disbanded on WWE television, Big E, Kingston and Woods continued their alliance at house shows. On the September 26 episode of SmackDown, Woods competed in an Intercontinental Championship No. 1 Contender Battle Royal which was won by Cesaro. On the November 3 episode of Raw, WWE began airing vignettes for Woods, Big E, and Kingston, as face characters, with the stable billed as The New Day. The New Day made their in-ring debut on the November 28 episode of SmackDown in a winning effort against Titus O'Neil, Heath Slater and Curtis Axel. At WrestleMania 31, Woods competed in the Andra Copyright the Giant Memorial Battle Royal where he was eliminated by eventual winner, The Big Show. On the April 6, 2015 episode of Raw, New Day started developing heel traits as they would start interfering with the others' matches to help each other gain unfair competitive advantages. Woods especially would trash talk with their opponents in the crowd during matches. At Extreme Rules, Big E and Kingston defeated Tyson Kidd and Cesaro to win the WWE Tag Team Championship after a distraction from Woods. Woods was then given a share of the title and the trio defended the titles under the Freebird rule. Kingston and Big E retained their titles in rematches on both SmackDown and at Payback, with Woods interfering in both matches. At Elimination Chamber, New Day retained their titles in the first ever Tag Team Elimination Chamber match, where all three members were allowed to compete. At Money in the Bank, Woods and Big E lost the titles to the Primetime Players. Big E and Kingston would also lose in their championship rematch at Battleground. New Day would win the titles for a second time after they defeated the Primetime Players, Los Matadors, and the Lucha Dragons in a tag team fatal four-way match at SummerSlam. The next night on Raw, after Big E and Kingston defeated the Lucha Dragons, they were attacked by the returning Dudley Boys, which ended with Woods being hit with a Dudley Death Drop through a table. On the September 14 episode of Raw, New Day defeated the Primetime Players in a Tag Team Championship match, setting up a defense against the Dudley Boys at Night of Champions. New Day would lose the match via disqualification but retain their tag team titles. On the September 28 episode of Raw, Woods answered John Cena's United States Championship Open Challenge where Cena retained via disqualification after Kingston and Big E attacked him. The Dudley Boys appeared afterwards to save Cena. This led to an impromptu six-man tag team match between the New Day against Cena and the Dudley Boys where the New Day were victorious after Kingston pinned Devon. In a Night of Champions rematch at Madison Square Garden, Woods would similarly get their team disqualified, saving their title reign in the process by once again being slammed through a table. Personal life. Watson graduated from Furman University with a master's degree in psychology and a bachelor's degree in philosophy. He is currently working to obtain his Ph.D. in educational psychology from Capella University. Watson's life was spotlighted, along with Raymond Lepan and Corey Graves, on ESPN's 60 special on WWE titled Behind the Curtain, which aired May 5, 2015. Watson is an avid fan of video games. He has a tattoo of the Triforce from the Legend of Zelda series on his left forearm. In 2015, Watson started a YouTube channel called Up Up Down Down, where he invites WWE performers, gaming personalities, and friends to play games. He also has a Twitch account under the username Austin Creed. Following Dolph Ziggler's call-out to Bronies in September 2014, Watson came out as a member of the My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic fandom the following March. In wrestling, finishing moves, as Xavier Woods, Culture Shock Euro 2010 Euro 2011, Lost in the Woods Euro 2013 Euro present, Shining Wizard Euro 2015 present, Tornado DDT Euro 2011 Euro 2013. Used as a signature move thereafter. As Austin Creed Consequences Creed, ACT Euro Austin Creed Test Euro 2010, Creed Euro 2007 Euro 2008, Fireman's Carry Cutter Euro 2009 Euro 2010. Used as a signature move in 2008, Montfisto Euro 2005 Euro 2007. Used as a signature move from 2008 Euro 2010. Signature moves, as Xavier Woods, front dropkick, head scissors takedown, on a roll. As Austin Creed Consequences Creed, arm drag, cradle back to belly pilly driver, diving fist drop, military press double knee buster, right-handed hook, rolling thunder clothesline, springboard one-handed bulldog, swinging cradle suplex. With Jay Lethal, double team finishing moves, Fireman's Carry Cutter followed by a diving elbow drop. Double team signature moves, military press / springboard one-handed bulldog combination, vertical suplex / diving crossbody combination. With the New Day, double team finishing moves, midnight hour and big ending combination, pendulum backbreaker / diving double foot stomp combination. Double triple team signature moves, multiple stomps to the chest of an opponent seated in the corner, with frequent tags. Nicknames, Awesome, Awesome Consequences, Consequences, Doctor of Defenestration, The Valedictorian, The X-Man. Wrestlers managed, Ron Killings / R-Truth, Big E, Kofi Kingston. Entrance themes, Living in America by James Brown, Consequences by Dale Oliver, Get Funky by 5 Alarm Music, Somebody Call My Mama by Jim Johnston, Who's the Man by CFO Dollar, New Day, New Way by Jim Johnston. Championships and accomplishments. Deep South Wrestling, DSW Heavyweight Championship. East Coast Wrestling Association, ECWA Super 8 Tournament Champion. Florida Championship Wrestling, FCW Florida Tag Team Championship a Euro with Wes Briscoe. NWA Anarchy, Most Popular Wrestler, NWA Anarchy Tag Team Championship a Euro with Hayden Young. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, PWI ranked him number 77 of the top 500 singles wrestlers in the PWI 500 in 2015. Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA World Tag Team Championship a Euro with Jay Lethal. WWE Tag Team Championship a Euro with Big E and Kofi Kingston 1. Woods defended the championship with either Big E or Kingston under the Freebird rule. References. External links. Xavier Woods' profile on WWE.com, Cage Match Day Euro Austin Creed, profile at Online World of Wrestling.